describe a couple to you and tell me if this sounds familiar. They're both in their late 60s. They worked their entire lives. Hard-working, responsible people. She was a teacher for 35 years. He worked in middle management at a manufacturing company for 40 years. They weren't rich, but they were solid middle class. They raised 2 kids, paid off their house, did everything they were supposed to do. They saved what they could. They contributed to their 401ks when their employers offered matches. They followed the conventional wisdom. Work hard, save some money, and you'll be fine in retirement. And now they're retired, and they're not fine. They're living on $48,000 a year, combined. That's both of their Social Security checks, a small pension from his company, and withdrawals from retirement accounts that are a lot smaller than they expected. They thought retirement would be comfortable. They thought they'd travel. They thought they'd enjoy their golden years. Instead, they're budgeting more carefully now than they did when they were working. They're stressed about every unexpected expense. A car repair feels like a crisis. A medical bill keeps them up at night. They can't help their kids financially even when they want to. They definitely can't help with their grandkids' college funds. They're not living in poverty. They're not homeless. They're not starving. But this isn't what they imagined. This isn't what 40 years of work was supposed to buy them. And the worst part? They're doing better than most. They're above the average. The average retirement income in America is even worse than what they're living on. And nobody talks about it. Nobody prepares you for it. Nobody tells you that doing everything right still leaves you broke in retirement. Let me describe. If you're not retired yet, if you think you're saving enough, if you believe that Social Security and your 401k are going to be enough, this video is going to be a wake-up call. My name is John, and I've spent years studying retirement preparedness in America, and the numbers are absolutely terrifying. Most people are heading toward a retirement that will be far worse than they imagine, and they have no idea it's coming. If this concerns you, if you're worried about your own retirement, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, because what I'm about to show you could be the difference between a comfortable retirement and a catastrophic one. Here's the thing that most people don't understand about retirement. We've been sold a fantasy. The retirement you see in commercials, couples walking on the beach, playing golf, traveling to exotic locations, spending time with grandchildren in beautiful homes, that's not reality for most Americans. That's not even close to reality. The average retirement income in the United States as of 2024 is approximately $50,290 per year for households aged 65 and older. That's combined income from all sources: Social Security, pensions, retirement account withdrawals, part-time work, everything. $50,000 a year for a household. That's $4,191 per month. Let that sink in. After 40 years of working, the average American household is living on about $4,200 a month in retirement. Now, some of you might be thinking, John, that doesn't sound terrible. I could live on $4,200 a month. And maybe you could. But let's break down what that actually means. Let's look at what the average retiree's budget looks like on $4,200 a month and see if it matches the retirement dream you've been sold. Housing costs for retirees average about $1,500 per month. That includes mortgage or rent, property taxes, homeowners insurance, utilities, and maintenance. If you're lucky, your house is paid off, so you're only dealing with taxes, insurance, and utilities. That might be $800 to $1,000 per month. If you're still paying a mortgage or renting, you're looking at $1,500 to $2,000 easily. Let's be optimistic and say $1,200 a month because the house is paid off. Healthcare costs for retirees average about $1,000 per month. Medicare doesn't cover everything. You've got premiums for Part B and Part D, supplemental insurance, copays, deductibles, prescription drugs, dental, vision, hearing aids. Healthcare gets more expensive as you age, not less. And that $1,000 average includes healthy retirees. If you have chronic conditions or need long-term care, this number explodes. If food costs about $600 per month for a retired couple, you're not eating out much, you're cooking at home, you're being careful, but food is expensive, and it's getting more expensive. Transportation costs about $700 per month. Car payment, if you have one, car insurance, gas, maintenance, repairs. Older retirees often still have car payments because they needed a reliable vehicle and financed it. Even if the car is paid off, insurance, gas, and maintenance for 2 people easily hits $400 to $500 per month. That's $3,500 a month in basic expenses: housing, healthcare, food, transportation. You've got $700 left. Out of that 700, you need to cover clothing, personal care items, household supplies, home repairs, insurance premiums, phone and internet, gifts for family, entertainment, and any kind of discretionary spending. There's no budget for travel, there's no budget for hobbies, there's no budget for helping your kids or grandkids, there's no buffer for emergencies. You're living paycheck to paycheck at 68 years old. This is the average retirement in America. And again, this assumes you're average. Half of retirees are living on less than this. According to the Social Security Administration, the median retirement income is actually closer to $42,000 per year. That's $3,500 a month. At that income level, you're making hard choices every month. You're skipping medications to save money. You're keeping the thermostat at uncomfortable temperatures to save on utilities. You're eating cheaper, less nutritious food. You're delaying necessary medical care. You're one major expense away from financial catastrophe. Now, you might be thinking, but John, Social Security is supposed to be there for us. That's what we've been paying into our whole lives. And yes, Social Security exists, but let me show you what it actually provides. The average Social Security benefit in 2024 is about $1,920 per month for an individual. For a couple where both worked, that's about $3,840 per month combined. That's $46,080 per year. For many retirees, Social Security is 70 to 90% of their total retirement income. They have almost nothing else. Social Security was never designed to be your sole source of retirement income. It was designed to be a safety net, a supplement to pensions and personal savings. But pensions have largely disappeared. In 1980, 60% of private sector workers had pension plans. Today, it's less than 15%. And personal savings? Most Americans have almost nothing saved for retirement. According to the Federal Reserve's 2023 survey of consumer finances, the median retirement account balance for households aged 55 to 64, people about to retire, is $185,000. That sounds like a lot until you do the math. Using the 4% safe withdrawal rule, which is the standard guidance for how much you can withdraw annually from retirement savings without running out of money, $185,000 gives you $7,400 per year. That's $617 per month. Combined with Social Security of $3,840 per month, that's a total retirement income of $4,457 per month, or $53,484 per year. And that's the median, which means half of people have less than that. According to the same survey, 25% of households aged 55 to 64 have less than $30,000 saved for retirement. Using the 4% rule, that's $1,200 per year from savings, or $100 per month. Those people are almost entirely dependent on Social Security. They're living on $3,840 a month as a couple, or $1,920 a month if single. Try living on $1,920 a month. Rent, food, healthcare, utilities, everything. It's not possible in most of America without serious hardship. But it gets even worse when you look at what people think they need versus what they actually have. According to a 2024 survey by the Employee Benefit Research Institute, the average worker expects to need about $1.2 million saved for a comfortable retirement. But the average amount actually saved by the time people retire is about $255,000. There's a gap of nearly $1 million between expectation and reality. People think they're on track, they think they're saving enough, and then they hit retirement age and discover they're not even close. Let me show you how this happens, because understanding the trap is the first step to avoiding it. Most people start saving for retirement too late. They're told to save, but they don't start seriously contributing until their 40s. By then, they've missed the most valuable years. Remember compound interest? A dollar invested at age 25 becomes $45 by age 65 at 10% returns. A dollar invested at age 45 becomes just $6. Starting late means you need to save dramatically more to achieve the same result. But most people can't save dramatically more because they're trapped in lifestyle expenses. They've got mortgages, car payments, kids' expenses, student loans. They're stretched thin. They contribute the minimum to get the employer match, maybe 3% to 6% of their salary, and they think that's enough. It's not. Financial advisors recommend saving 15 to 20% of your gross income for retirement. Most Americans save less than 10%. Over a 30-year career, the difference between saving 5% and saving 15% is hundreds of thousands of dollars in retirement wealth. Then there's the problem of withdrawal during accumulation. People treat their 401k like an emergency fund. They borrow against it to buy a house or pay for a wedding or cover an unexpected expense. Every time you withdraw from your retirement account early, you're not just losing that money, you're losing all the compound growth that money would have generated. A $10,000 early withdrawal at age 35 costs you $174,000 in retirement wealth by age 65. People do this multiple times over their careers and wonder why they have nothing saved. There's also the problem of fees. Most people have no idea what they're paying in 401k fees. The average 401k plan charges about 1% in fees annually. That doesn't sound like much, but over 30 years, 1% in fees can reduce your final retirement balance by 28%. On a $500,000 retirement account, that's $140,000 that went to fees instead of your retirement. You worked for 30 years and gave $140,000 to financial companies for the privilege of investing your own money. And then there's the sequence of returns risk. This is something almost nobody understands until it's too late. If the stock market crashes right before or right after you retire, your retirement is devastated even if the market eventually recovers. Here's why. Let's say you retire with $500,000. You plan to withdraw 4% per year, or $20,000. In year one, the market crashes 30%. Your $500,000 is now $350,000. You still need your $20,000 to live, so you withdraw it. Now you have $330,000. The market needs to grow by 52% just to get you back to your starting point. Meanwhile, you're withdrawing money every year, making the recovery even harder. This is what happened to people who retired in 2008. The market crashed right as they were retiring. They had to withdraw money during the crash to live, which locked in their losses. Many of them never recovered. They're living on far less than they planned because their retirement accounts got decimated at the worst possible time. This is a risk that exists for everyone approaching retirement, and most people have no plan to protect against it. But most people... Now let's talk about the elephant in the room: healthcare costs in retirement. This is the expense that destroys most retirement plans. The average couple retiring at 65 will spend about $315,000 on healthcare over the course of their retirement. That's not including long-term care. That's just Medicare premiums, supplemental insurance, out-of-pocket costs, prescriptions, dental, and vision. $315,000. If you need long-term care, and about 70% of people over 65 will need some form of long-term care, the costs are staggering. The average cost of a nursing home is about $108,000 per year. The average stay is 2.5 years. That's $270,000. Assisted living is about $54,000 per year. Home health aides are about $30 per hour. If you need 20 hours of care per week, that's $31,000 per year. Medicare doesn't cover most long-term care. Medicaid only covers it if you're essentially broke. Most people end up paying out of pocket, which destroys whatever retirement savings they managed to accumulate. I've seen people who saved diligently for 40 years, built up $400,000 or $500,000 in retirement accounts, and then one of them needed nursing home care for 3 years. The entire retirement account was wiped out. The surviving spouse was left with almost nothing. This is not a rare scenario. This is common, and almost nobody plans for it because it's too depressing to think about. Let me give you a concrete example of how this all comes together. Meet Robert and Linda. Robert worked in sales, Linda worked in administration. They made decent money, household income usually around $85,000 to $95,000 over the course of their careers. They saved when they could. They contributed to their 401ks, usually around 6% to 8% of their salaries. They paid off their house. They sent their 2 kids to college, taking on some debt to help them. They retired at 66 with about $320,000 in retirement savings combined, a paid-off house worth about $280,000, and Social Security. Their monthly income in retirement looks like this. Social Security combined, $3,600, withdrawal from retirement accounts at 4%, which is $12,800 per year or $1,067 per month, total monthly income, $4,667. Their expenses look like this: Property taxes and homeowners insurance, $450 per month. Utilities, $250 per month. Healthcare premiums and out-of-pocket costs, $900 per month. Food, $600 per month. Transportation, including car insurance and maintenance, $500 per month. Phone and internet, $100 per month. Home maintenance and repairs, $200 per month. Personal care and miscellaneous, $200 per month. That's $3,200 per month in fixed expenses. Now they have $1,467 left per month for everything else. Clothing, gifts, entertainment, travel, emergency expenses, helping their kids, everything. They thought they'd be comfortable. They thought they saved enough, but they're watching every dollar. They can't afford to travel like they planned. They had to tell their daughter they can't help with the grandkids' college funds. When their car needed a $2,500 repair, it stressed them out for weeks. They're 68 years old and living more frugally than they did when they were 40. And they're lucky. They have a paid-off house. They have some retirement savings. They're above average. This is what an above-average retirement looks like in America. Now imagine being below average. Imagine having only Social Security, $3,600 a month for a couple, or $1,900 for an individual. Imagine still having a mortgage or rent payment. Imagine having significant health issues that require expensive medications or treatments. That's the reality for millions of American retirees. Here's what makes this even more tragic. Most of these people did what they were told. They worked hard, they saved when they could, they followed conventional wisdom, they trusted the system, and the system failed them. They were told Social Security would be there. It is, but it's not enough. They were told pensions would provide security. The pensions disappeared. They were told to save in 401ks. They did, but nobody told them they needed to save 15% to 20%, not 3% to 5%. Nobody told them about fees eating their returns. Nobody told them about healthcare costs destroying their savings. Nobody told them the truth about what retirement actually costs. The financial services industry sells a fantasy. Commercials show retirees playing golf, traveling the world, living in beautiful homes by the beach. They make it seem effortless. Save a little money, retire comfortably. But the math doesn't work. A couple making $75,000 a year who saves 6% for 30 years will have about $350,000 in retirement savings. At a 4% withdrawal rate, that's $14,000 per year, or $1,167 per month. Add Social Security of $3,600 per month, and they're living on $4,767 per month. That's not golfing and traveling. That's budgeting groceries and hoping the car doesn't break down. They have $1,000. Now, let me show you what you actually need to retire comfortably, because I think this will shock you. Financial planners generally recommend that you need to replace 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income to maintain your standard of living in retirement. Some say 90% because healthcare costs are higher and you might want to travel or pursue hobbies you didn't have time for while working. Let's say you're making $75,000 a year before retirement. To replace 80% of that income, you need $60,000 per year in retirement. Social Security will provide about $28,000 to $32,000 per year for a couple. That means you need an additional $28,000 to $32,000 per year from savings. Using the 4% rule, that means you need $700,000 to $800,000 in retirement savings. That's after a lifetime of work. That's the bare minimum for a comfortable retirement if you were making $75,000 before retiring. If you were making $100,000 a year, you need $80,000 in retirement. Social Security might provide $35,000 to $40,000. You need another $40,000 to $45,000 from savings. That requires $1 million to $1.1 million in retirement savings. Most people hear $1 million and think that's only for rich people. It's not. $1 million is what a middle-class person needs to retire comfortably, and most people don't have anywhere close to that. According to Vanguard's 2024 report on retirement readiness, only 15% of workers are on track to replace 70% of their pre-retirement income. 15%. That means 85% of American workers are heading toward a retirement that will be worse than their working years. They'll have to drastically cut their lifestyle. They'll live with constant financial stress. They'll worry about money every single day after 40 years of hard work. So what do? How do you avoid ending up as another statistic living on $50,000 a year in retirement? Let me give you the roadmap, because there is a way out of this. It requires sacrifice. It requires discipline. It requires starting now, not tomorrow. But it's possible. First, you need to know your number. Calculate how much you need to retire. Take your current annual spending, multiply by 0.8, and that's roughly what you'll need per year in retirement. Subtract what you expect from Social Security. The remainder needs to come from savings. Multiply that remainder by 25, and that's how much you need saved. For most people, this number is between $750,000 and $1.5 million. It's a big number. It's supposed to be. Retirement lasts 20 to 30 years. You need a big number. Now, second, you need to save aggressively. Not 3%, not 6%, minimum 15% of your gross income, ideally 20% or more. If your employer matches, that counts toward the 15%, but you personally need to be contributing at least 10 to 15% of your salary. If you're behind, if you're in your 40s or 50s with not much saved, you need to save even more, 25 to 30% if possible. This will hurt. It will require lifestyle sacrifices. Do it anyway. Your retired self will thank you. Third, maximize tax-advantaged accounts. Max out your 401k, which is $23,000 per year if you're under 50, or $30,500 if you're 50 or older. Max out a Roth IRA, which is $7,000 per year, or $8,000 if you're 50 or older. These contribution limits are for 2024, and they increase periodically. Use every tax-advantaged account available to you. The tax savings are significant and compound over time. Fourth, invest aggressively, but appropriately for your age. When you're young, you should be 80 to 90% stocks, mostly in diversified index funds. As you approach retirement, gradually shift to a more conservative allocation, maybe 60% stocks and 40% bonds by the time you retire. Don't be too conservative too early, or you'll sacrifice growth. Don't be too aggressive too late, or you'll risk everything in a market crash right before retirement. Fifth, plan for healthcare costs. Open a health savings account if you're eligible. It's triple tax advantaged and can be used for healthcare costs in retirement. Max it out every year, which is $4,150 for individuals or $8,300 for families in 2024. Consider long-term care insurance in your 50s if you can afford it. It's expensive, but it's cheaper than paying for a nursing home out of pocket. Sixth, eliminate debt before retirement. You cannot afford to enter retirement with a mortgage, car payments, or credit card debt. The average retirement income won't support debt payments. You need to be debt-free. That means paying off your house before you retire. That means buying cars with cash or paying them off quickly. That means carrying no credit card balances. This needs to be a priority in your 50s. Seventh, consider working longer. Every year you delay retirement is a year of additional savings, additional compound growth, and a higher Social Security benefit. If you retire at 62, your Social Security benefit is reduced by about 30%. If you wait until 70, it's increased by about 32% compared to retiring at full retirement age. Delaying retirement from 62 to 70 can nearly double your Social Security income. It also gives your investments more time to grow. Working until 70 instead of 62 can be the difference between a comfortable retirement and a struggling one. Eighth, create additional income streams. Don't rely solely on Social Security and retirement accounts. Build passive income sources, rental properties if you can afford them, dividend-paying stocks, a small business or side hustle that can continue into retirement, anything that brings in income beyond your retirement accounts. Diversifying your income sources makes retirement more secure and comfortable. Now, let me show you what happens if you actually follow this plan versus if you don't. Let's say you're 35 years old making $60,000 a year. Scenario 1, the typical path. You save 6% of your salary, your employer matches 3%, so 9% total going into retirement accounts. You do this for 30 years until you're 65. Assuming 10% average annual returns, you'll have about $540,000 saved. Your Social Security will be about $2,200 per month or $26,400 per year. Your 4% withdrawal from savings is $55,200 per year. Total retirement income, $81,600 per year or $6,800 per month. You're living on $6,800 a month, which is comfortable. You can travel, you can help your kids, you can handle emergencies without stress. The difference between saving 6% and saving 20% over 30 years is $33,600 per year in retirement income. That's $2,800 per month. That's the difference between struggling and thriving. And what did it cost you? An extra 14% of your salary for 30 years. On $60,000, that's $8,400 per year, or $700 per month. You sacrificed $700 per month for 30 years to gain $2,800 per month for the rest of your life. That's the trade, and it's a trade worth making. Seventh, but here's the thing. Most people don't do the math. They don't calculate their retirement number. They don't know how much they need to save. They just contribute the minimum and hope it works out. And then they hit 65 and discover it didn't work out. They're looking at a retirement income of $40,000 or $50,000 per year and wondering how they're going to survive. By then, it's too late to fix it. You can't make up 30 years of compound growth in 5 years. The math doesn't work. This is why I'm so passionate about this topic. I see people in their 60s and 70s who are struggling financially after a lifetime of work. They're stressed, they're worried, they're making hard choices between medication and food, between heating their home and buying groceries, and it didn't have to be this way. If someone had shown them the real numbers 30 years ago, if someone had told them the truth about what retirement actually costs, if someone had explained compound interest and the power of saving 20% instead of 5%, they would have made different choices. But nobody told them. They were told to save a little and everything would be fine. And it wasn't fine. I want to leave you with one final thought because I think it changes everything. Retirement isn't about age. It's about financial independence. The goal isn't to hit 65 and stop working. The goal is to reach a point where work is optional, where you have enough assets and income streams that you don't need a paycheck to survive. For some people, that happens at 55. For others, it happens at 70. For people who never save aggressively, it never happens. They work until they physically can't anymore. Then they live on whatever Social Security provides, which is not enough. But here, you have a choice right now. You can continue on your current path, saving the minimum, hoping it works out, and joining the 85% of people who won't have enough. Or you can make the hard choice. Cut your lifestyle now, save aggressively, invest consistently, and build a retirement where you actually have options, where you can live comfortably, where you can help your family, where you're not stressed about money every single day. The average retirement income in America is about $50,000 a year, and it's worse than you think. It's a life of careful budgeting, denied opportunities, and constant financial stress after 40 years of hard work. You don't have to accept that future. You can build something better, but you have to start now. You have to save more than feels comfortable. You have to invest aggressively. You have to make retirement a priority, not an afterthought. If this video opened your eyes to the reality of retirement in America, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the Penny Plan for more content that tells you the truth about money, even when it's uncomfortable. The average retirement is worse than you think, but your retirement doesn't have to be average. The choice is yours. You have a